this story to our attention the last couple of days, Kev especially, because Kev was a big fan of Billy Jack Haynes back in the day. This was before we found out he was psycho. But Billy Jack Haynes, on February 8th, was arrested. He's not been officially charged yet because he's in the hospital. But Billy Jack Haynes in Portland, Oregon, shot and killed his 85-year-old wife. So now I touched on this briefly on Friday, but I have a little bit more information now. That picture I just posted is a picture of his wife from last year. Billy Jack Haynes is 70, and his wife, who's now deceased, her name was, I believe, Janette Becraft.
Right.
She was married once before, and she became a widow. She met Billy Jack Haynes not that many years ago, and they got married. And she's been suffering from dementia.
Yeah.
Now, something happened on February 8th. There was an incident in the house, and he ended up shooting and murdering his wife. On Friday, I had gotten some early information. The mugshot that was sent to me actually was not Billy Jack Haynes. I'll post it anyway on Twitter so people could see it's a doppelganger for him. In Portland, Oregon, they do not release mugshots. The media could try to get it, but it is very, very difficult. Under very, very, very rare circumstances do they release mugshots. But he's in a hospital right now. They did not reveal why he's in the hospital. What they did reveal is his injuries, his issue is not related to the police arresting him. They had a standoff for 2 hours. They negotiated. After 2 hours, he finally surrendered. His illness issues has nothing to do with that. Plus, his injuries were not sustained in the murder of his wife. So, there's been ideas that he tried to hurt himself, that there might be some other issue going on with him. But we talked before we started the show tonight, there's a little bit of buzz going around that, she was in the latter stages of either dementia or Alzheimer's, and he may be getting ready to have a sympathy killing defense.
Mercy killing
defense. There's no excuse. You still cannot murder someone you love. To see and from all the neighbor reports that are going around, they got along. Like, there was no incidents of violence or anything that.
They did. They had a couple of neighbors on, because I was really looking into this too.
Yeah.
And everyone on the block said that they looked after them. They went in the house, and they were like, Billy would tell stories to people about his wrestling days, and a lot of people in Portland. Remember, Billy Jack Haynes, there used to be an old saying, Oregon is known for two things, Bigfoot and Billy Jack Haynes. Billy Jack Haynes was a very, very prominent figure in Oregon, especially in Portland, in the early 80s. When he got into wrestling, he was as big as Magnum TA, David Von Erich. He was in line for that NWA title in 84, 85. When they were talking about who the next big babyface was to beat Ric Flair.
Mm-hmm.
So Billy Jack Haynes in Florida, he was a big star. In Portland, big star. Went to the WWF for the money in 86, was there for 2 years. You guys might remember he fought Hercules at WrestleMania 3. Got the chain to the head. He was a prominent wrestler, and I think he always had some form of mental illness and started to show signs of it in the late 80s, and then started burning bridges. Then when he made a comeback, he had to wrestle under a mask, Black Blood. Kevin Sullivan got him a job in WCW for a little while, and then he disappeared again, came back in 95, and was this heelish, crazed character. A lot of people liked his work, but I was thinking that was really part of his personality. He's also known as a very dangerous guy. Nobody wanted to mess with him. He beat up Barry Windham. Yeah. He's beat up Iron Mike Sharp. He's beat up a lot of guys. You didn't want to mess with Billy Jack Haynes. We'll talk about Haku. Billy Jack was up there. But a lot of other people, like Danny Davis, the referee, who did a shoot interview not too long ago, said Billy was a nice guy. He was just off, and no one could kind of figure out what was going on. DT, you have to remember, back in the 80s, they didn't talk about, mental, you
No.
were either you were nuts. Don't mess with that guy. He's nuts.
Yeah.
Right, DT? Like
Sure.
the tough guys in our neighborhood. We didn't know about mental challenges or depression or anxiety. No one really talked like that. It was like, stay away from that dude. He's bad news or whatever. And in wrestling, there was so many of these characters. So I don't think Billy ever was really diagnosed till later in his life. And I think DT, his defense is going to be that he's got dementia.
Yeah.
Oh, so I mean, it's a tragic story. I mean, people got a kick out of his shoot interviews. I found them to be very sad and pathetic.
Oh, sure. When he was talking about the Nancy stuff, that was just...
It was crazy. Yeah, people were like, I even was upset with our video and with some of these other people. I remember I talked about it on the show where I said, he's not well. This is like it's not a monkey in a cage here. This is a person. And you're putting him on display, and this is going to be out there forever, and this is going to be his legacy. And everyone's like, Kev, maybe he's just like, he's just a fucked up guy. I'm like, why? What would select now with who can have mental illness and who can't?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, no, it's got to be the same way for everybody. If you wouldn't treat someone else off the street like that just because he's a wrestler, I think he's been unstable for years, and I think the interviews that people did, it was bad judgment, and I would have never done it. I think you would agree with me, DT. If we had him on, he started talking crazy, me and you would probably say, listen, let's not even record this. Let's not even do this.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, you know how people are in our community, unfortunately.
Yeah, and it kind of reminds me of the Vern Gagne story.
Yes, yes.
When he was in the home at the final stages of his life, and he got dementia. And, if anybody doesn't know that story, look it up. And he was accused of killing someone too.
Yeah, because Ben's saying in the chat, and Ben's one of our regulars, a friend, but he's said horrible things. Yeah, when you are mentally unstable, you say a lot of horrible things.
Yes.
He has been walking around like this for years, and I think that Billy doesn't have much in terms of family. He a big thing with Billy is that he had a blind father.
Yes.
And he actually even incorporated his father in Portland when he wrestled for Don Owens. His father was on TV, and some of the angles, there's a crazy angle where the grappler is doing three blind mice taunting his father, and then Billy comes with Roddy Piper and cleans house. It's a big clip you guys can watch on YouTube. Roddy Piper was a big friend of Billy Jack Haynes. A lot of people also, another side note, DT, that he was married to Jeannie Clark, Steve Austin's ex-wife, before Steve was.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Billy Jack's got some sort of history, but I think there's been mental illness there for quite a while. Whether he got help or not, I don't know. But this, almost, DT, did you even see an incident like this coming with a guy like Billy Jack?
Probably not, because, I mean, he reached 70. You know what I mean? Yeah. And up until this point, there was no, like signs. Like people always said, like you're right. People always said, you don't mess with him. You don't fuck with Billy Jack Haynes. But we have not heard like police come into the house, or even 5-10 years ago, Billy Jack Haynes, arrested for assaulting someone, or like you said, if you look at all the neighbors' reports, like, oh, he used to always talk about memories and wrestling and this and that. Like you didn't hear about incidents like when he would talk. And we'll definitely segue to Vice with Ashley Mazzaro in a second. Sure. Like the R video shoot interview.